Time to start our meeting. We begin our meetings with a silent invocation for people to pray or meditate as they choose, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will rise, please. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We want to be able to hear the people who are speaking, so I would ask that you not make additional comments, yelling, cheering, whatever, while people are speaking. We do want to respect all opinions. We do have a few people who have general public comments. Is there anyone seeking recognition online for public comment?
There's one hand raised online.
One hand raised. We have three people who have signed up here, plus the one. So would ask these people to limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes. And when I call the name, excuse me, if a person would come to the microphone, give their name and address for the clerk's record. First is Tom Appleby. And you'll have 2 minutes, please.
Me, Barbara?
Go right ahead.
This is your card. You gave this to me, Barbara.
Okay, yes.
And I met with you in your office to discuss three things. And that was parking, free parking. I wanted to discuss to develop a traffic circle in town where you have a turnaround at the ice cream place and a turnaround at the railroad track. And also to use the rails for tourism and travel from Saluda all the way to Canton. And those were the three things I thought I'd bring to your attention. And I was really surprised after I came back from my cancer surgery and I talked about free parking, you never mentioned anything about free parking. I saw you doing the ribbon cutting, and then we have kiosks up in town. I'm very upset about that. I'm from Batcave, 100 Minnehaha Drive, Batcave. I'm one of your customers that come into Hendersonville to buy donuts or a guitar pick. But I don't know if I'm going to be coming down if I have to pay parking like that and you're ruining the town. Pay parking is an illegal tax on me after I paid $800 on my tag or my license plate. Paid parking is bad for business. Less tips in the tip jar. Less customer traffic, and I'm one. It puts people out of business. You just raise the fine for parking tickets from $25 to $50. Is your intention to just put people into traffic court? Because that's what it looks like in Hendersonville now. Are you trying to put people in court? Put people out of business? Hendersonville city limits fall on the two sides of 26 over here. Are we going to put paid parking over there too? It's disgraceful. If you have an $8 million parking garage, then you should find out from the city taxpayers if they even want it. Was it even a public referendum? Now, I've talked to many people. I did my own research. I went on Google. I called people. And from my further research, I found that the tips from individuals has gone down from the local businesses.
Okay, your
listen.
2 minutes. Your 2 minutes are expired. If you would give us your written comments, we'd be happy to read the rest of it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm from Asbury Park, New Jersey, and I have to say that you're ruining the city, and I want you to have a kiosk on your parking spot.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Okay. Please, no comments. It just prolongs the time that we have here. Rafael Morales. Okay.
Hey, everybody. First off, I super agree with the parking situation. I know that you guys had it in the public sphere. It was a huge conversation for a very long time, and there was a lot of consideration into how it would affect the community, not just the people, but the businesses as well. And I think that the city made a very well-informed decision with many phases of the development of the parking situation, both the parking garage as well as the paid parking on Main Street. And for folks that do have a problem with parking whenever you go downtown to get a guitar pick or grab a beer, parking in the parking garage is actually free for the first hour. So you have the whole parking deck, which is free for 1 hour. So I do want to say that I agree with the decision to have paid parking on Main Street and around Main Street. I think that it's going to be a great way for the city to make some much needed cash as we grow and develop. And onto that, the one thing I did want to say, speaking about development, is a lot of these conditional rezoning requests. Speaking specifically, there was one recently at the last council meeting where the public hearing had been postponed, and I did want to say publicly that I'm super supportive of a culture being embraced by City Council of whenever our planning board unanimously decides that a development is not going to be good for the community. There's no reason why it can't be a unanimous no vote as well for City Council. I think that nobody needs to be an outlier. There's no need for that. It can just be a no across the board if the planning board decides that it's not in the best interest of the community. And I'm looking forward to seeing that no vote when this specific, if it ever comes back, the specific conditional rezoning request pops up. And yeah, I'm not going to grandstand. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Eric Gash.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, Heads of Department, Chief, good to see you. I just wanted to take time to thank you. In other words, thank you for being proactive and not reactive. The old idiom that says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The older I get, the more that makes sense to me. And approximately 25% of the residents of Henderson County are over the age of 65, so I know that they can really relate to this. Who waits until they need a doctor to go to a doctor? Preventative care is the best care. You don't go to a doctor to prove there's a problem, but to simply see if there's a problem. If the diagnosis from the doctor is eat more fruits and vegetables, do a little more exercise, drink more water, you're going to feel pretty good about your health. However, if the prognosis or the diagnosis from the doctor, he comes running into the room and his eyes wide open with specialists behind him with a gurney saying, get mama ready, there's going to be a problem because it's probably too late. I wanted to thank you for being forward-thinking. Our preliminary report for the city of Hendersonville was from the independent resource, Akira, was eat more fruits and veggies, exercise a little more, and drink more water. That's what I kind of expected from the equity audit that we got. Can we get better? Can we do better? Absolutely. Change is difficult, but not to change is fatal. It's not just about race and gender, but also about age and religion, ability and disability. It's not wise to wait until something happens, but being proactive is much better. In your business, if you wait till you're hemorrhaging money to do an audit, it's way too late. As an educator, I had an open door policy in my room in my school. You could come in at any point in time because I was always on task and doing what I was supposed to do. I'll leave you with two things. One of Nelson Mandela's 10 rules of success. Rule number 4 is don't worry about labels. People mock what they don't understand and fear what they don't know. And I'll leave you with this scripture, Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. God bless you. May God continue to bless our city, and God bless America.
Thank you. Okay. If the person who's online, if they have general comment?
Len, you've been unmuted.
I wanted to first start by requesting a strike to amend the April 12th minute meetings to reflect my opposition to North Carolina House Bill S-265. Once again, the residents of Hendersonville demand the right to vote for our city council members this November. The people's will must be heard, respected, represented through our promised and protected right to vote. We demand Lindsey Simpson and Jennifer Hensley participate in this year's election and not be grandfathered in, but voted in by the people. Once again, wanted to voice my opposition to the increase in raising the price plots at Oakdale Cemetery. I misspoke last month, and what I meant to say was that it seems as though it's price gouging on the most vulnerable to increase the price of the plots by 300%, from $500 to $1,500. And once again, I ask that the city not raise the prices. My family's there, generations are there. We appreciate that, the care for the cemetery. And like I said, I'd love to work with you, volunteer there, help with volunteer programs, work with the county, with their board with cemeteries to see what we can do to indefinitely protect this historic site. Last month, I also stated my support for DEI initiatives. I once again wanted to say that. That is what I have today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, those were those who had signed up for general public comment. To determine which group of people will be going first, we have a coin with a badge on one side and a number 1 on the other, and the people who are in favor will be the badge side. Those who are against it will be the one side, and I will let you flip this coin. We will just see here, see who gets to go first. Okay, it was the shield side. So those who are in favor of the, if I remember correctly, those who are in favor of the DEI program will have their 10 minutes to begin with. So, and if you have not decided who is going to be speaking, I will just start down the list. Is there? Okay. It's up to you.
No
You have 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
10, for the whole group. The whole group has 10 minutes total.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor.
And if everyone would please give their name and address for the clerk's record.
Jennifer Mayo, 1319 Pine Spring Drive here in Hendersonville. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed members of our council. I am honored and delighted to be here before you speaking on behalf of Hendersonville Pride. I moved to this city that all of us love a little over a year ago. COVID and remote work made that possible for me. One of the things that just struck me is I walked our streets, ate in our restaurants, went to our breweries, sat in our houses of worship, was this beautiful and amazing, just really an intangible spirit of love and inclusion and welcome. And I saw that again up on our sign, that is one of our community values. But as I stand before you tonight, brothers and sisters, my heart is heavy, and it's sad, and it weeps. Because I sense a spirit that is opposite of that at work in our community. A spirit that really has no place in the modern world, honestly. A spirit and a mindset that would take us back in time to the 1950s. I watched this meeting on YouTube, the feed a few weeks ago, and I saw signs that I literally could not fathom proclaiming diversity, welcome, and inclusion, Marxist ideology. And that triggered my thoughts back to the year 1963.
Please, I'm sorry, please stay by the microphone.
When a prophet
Thank you.
walked among us and gave one of the most impassioned speeches at the Lincoln Memorial, and he said, "I have a dream." And you know what our own government said about that prophet? He said, "We must now mark this man now as the most dangerous Negro in this country, a communist, a Marxist, and a threat to national security. That was 1963. This is 2023. Same issue, same signs, same accusations, same fear, and same mistrust of the other. So my message and what I want to convey is simple, but I believe so life-giving, that every person born is inherently loved, and we all deserve opportunity, equality, equity, and we deserve a city that reflects an ever-growing and more diverse community. So I want to proclaim, okay, no clapping. So I want to proclaim with every ounce of energy and passion I have within me that diversity, equity, and inclusion are good and holy and just works. That diversity, equity, and inclusion are not political issues. Friends, this is a moral issue that lies and cuts to our very souls themselves. That diversity, equity, inclusion are ways that we live into bending that moral arc just a little bit toward justice in our community. And so I am so excited that we have an opportunity to build a community where all can thrive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone else who wishes to speak?
Hi, I'm Perry David. I live in Hendersonville, out in Hendersonville. But honestly, the diversity effort here calls to me and for my future. I love that you all are doing this. I'm very impressed that the council is offering this diversity to your city. I recently read a book by Heather McGhee called The Sum of Us. My friends have heard about this. What racism costs us and everyone and how we can prosper together. It's full of hopeful stories. We can work together, and statistics. It shows how racism and extremism costs us. So who benefits from extremism? The top 1%, the millionaires, who prefer we stay busy hating each other and working against each other instead of working to make government better. We can do that. We can do that. And statistically, when communities work together, good things happen for all in the community, no matter our incomes, our skin color, sexual orientation, or abilities. Even Wells Fargo, who in the past was a leader in redlining, you all may know what redlining is now advancing diversity efforts, and it will benefit them. It will benefit Wells Fargo. As Heather McGhee says at the end of her book, The Sum of Us, diversity can be our superpower. We, the people, could be all of us. We can work together and make it good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann Twiggs, and I live in Hendersonville. I attended a wonderful concert presented by the Hendersonville Community Band on Sunday, and it got me thinking about the need for and benefits of diversity and inclusion. Imagine, if you will, a band or orchestra consisting of one or two instruments, let's say a horn and a drum. Well, the horn and the drum try very hard to make music together, but it just doesn't sound right. It's not melodic. They can't seem to be able to bring the composer's score to life. So the conductor decides they need to add some different instruments to the horn and the drum and searches for a clarinet and an oboe, hoping those additions to the band will help to realize the composer's score. Well, it does help, but something is still missing. The full dimension of the composer's notes are still not realized. They add tubas, trumpets, and weirdly of all, a euphonium, which the horn had never even known existed. Finally, a reasonable band was brought together to play the composer's creation. That's how I think of the DEI committee, to be the best band community that we can be Hendersonville needs to add diverse instruments, people, to its governing institutions, and while searching for them, may find an unexpected euphonium it didn't even know it really needed to complete the orchestra. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Elliott, and I live in Flat Rock. I want to state for the record that I am not a Marxist. My support for the DEI proposal is not an indication that I have Marxist beliefs. My support simply means that I believe Hendersonville and Henderson County should be an ever better place to live and needs to be led by public officials that truly reflect the wonderful diversity of our citizens. I led several companies during my professional career, and I learned quickly that self-reflection and a willingness to constantly test accepted norms, while sometimes painful, is necessary for growth. We cannot fear change. It is inevitable, and so we need to plan to address it. But let's be honest, this is not the real issue here. A segment of our citizenry is using DEI as a means to target our current city council makeup. The real call to action is to elect all conservatives in coming elections. The fear is that adding more diverse representation to our public workforce will introduce more voices and broader thinking. A goal, by the way, that will actually encourage the growth of a healthier, more inclusive environment for all citizens in this county. Populating our government with even more white conservative thinking is in no way healthy. In fact, it underscores the sad direction of our county commissioners' 2045 planning. We do not need a vision that ignores climate change, that endorses unregulated growth with no commitment to protecting our air and water quality, and has no plan to protect our green spaces. That is what we get when we substitute fear of change and a focus on maintaining the current status quo.
Can you wind up, please,
that
at the end of the
recognizes
time?
Let's put our differences aside and recognize that our children and grandchildren should be the real focus of our discussion about our county's future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Those who feel that they are against the DEI proposals, again, you have 10 minutes. Whoever wants to speak first.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Groh. I live in Fletcher. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your service to Hendersonville. I'm here to ask that the city cancel the Akira DEI contract and use the approximately $90,000 for real problems in Hendersonville, not imagined problems. Furthermore, disband the DEI committee as it is not wanted nor needed and a waste of taxpayer money. While I live in Fletcher, I am vested in Hendersonville and have no desire to see the same Marxist ideology that has destroyed.
No, duh, come on.
Thanks for the, we'll do the same thing for you. While DEI is full of wonderful sounding words and sentiments, but the stated goal is a lie. DEI is one aspect of cultural Marxism meant to sow dissension and break down society, and then out of the ashes will rise utopia. This is not hyperbole. You need to read history and understand the roots of this ideology. It was interesting last week that Ms. Greer spent a lot of time discussing various biases in society, and she was incredulous about anyone questioning the object of her goals of her work. But consider this. Ms. Greer is a principal strategist for another DEI consultancy, the Winners Group. In that bio on that site, she states, "I'm a vibrant and dynamic daughter of a Black Panther mother and a Nation of Islam father. I am a sovereign for justice and a solicitor of peace." That's pretty ironic. The Black Panther Party was a Marxist-Leninist political organization. Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam is well known for stirring up racial and religious hatred and has been called a hate group by civil rights groups like the NAACP. So what's her bias? And you expect her to come in and lecture us about tolerance? Finally, I'll just leave a last question. Is this the divisive kind of ideology that you are proud to bring to Hendersonville? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lyra Prickett. I live in Henderson County. I also have a business in Hendersonville. We as Americans are probably the most diverse population on earth. But one thing the entire human race has in common is psychology. In that, we are all the same. I'm concerned about the unintended psychological effects on all of the people in our entire community. I'm glad Ms. Greer mentioned bias in her presentation because, you see, unconscious bias training has shown negative results when measured, potentially increasing bias, not decreasing it. A review by Pollack, Porat, Clark, and Green of 418 related experiments over a 12-year period concludes that, quote, much research effort is theoretically and empirically ill-suited to provide actionable, evidence-based recommendations for reducing prejudice, end quote. I'm happy to provide that study, which is available on PubMed. Has the Acuria firm provided any measurable data showing efficacy? And how will we know if we are improving as a community or not? I think we can all acknowledge that since the implementation of current DEI efforts, there is more hatred and division, not less. Today's DEI as a movement foments hatred, focusing on a power dynamic of oppressor and oppressed, the theory of Hegel and Marx. If the intent is to help, let's look for evidence-based and data-driven options, such as wide-open mentoring or the McNair Foundation program currently working in Rutherford County. To reiterate, DEI and anti-bias programs at this point have no evidence of success and is perhaps deleterious. In the end, I believe we should recognize the message from the book As a Man Thinketh and consider, are we encouraging a growth mindset or a victim mindset? This is the time to recognize whether the intended outcome is division or growth for the Hendersonville community. Thank you for serving and giving me time to speak this evening.
Good evening. My name is Corinne Mandel, and I live in the city of Hendersonville. The following words are from Maureen DiRienzio, a concerned citizen who could not be with us this evening. Given that my perspective mirrors hers, I am honored to deliver this message on her behalf. Would you want to be operated on by a surgeon hired solely based on DEI standards? Would you want to fly on a plane by a pilot hired solely based on DEI standards? What about driving over a bridge designed by an engineer who had been hired solely based on DEI standards? Like everyone else, you would want surgeons, pilots, and engineers who had been hired based on their talents and their skills and their merit. Merit ought to be the reason people are hired. DEI ignores merit. It focuses on skin color, gender, and sexual orientation. That in and of itself is discriminatory, and it undermines the ability of our institutions to function as well as they ought to. As leaders in the community, the onus is on you to hire the most qualified and the most meritorious people to serve the citizens of our community. I do not care what their skin color is, nor their gender, nor who they love, nor should you. Just hire the best qualified people. I watched the video of the Zoom presentation given by the Akira consultants on March 14, 2023. I heard nothing to suggest that Hendersonville is operating in a racist, sexist manner. Of course, these consultants will conclude otherwise. That is what consultants do. They imagine problems where none exist so they can legitimize their business and sell you and the taxpayers solutions. Cancel the DEI project. It is time to get back to rewarding merit. America, this great country, was built by people with skills, talent, and merit. It is a formula that works. Save the city some money and abandon this waste of time and effort. Thank you.
My name is Cher Silvius, and I'm a Hendersonville resident. I would like to thank you for the work that you do. I have attended the Diversity and Inclusion Committee meetings over the last 9 months, trying to understand why we needed this DEI firm for $150,000. I asked questions at that first meeting. John Connett was there, Mayor Volk was there. And I was told by John Conant that they were taking preemptive step after the George Floyd tragedy. I sat and listened to the DEI committee meetings, the target group talks that were not well attended, and listened to the DEI survey results. I saw and heard people looking for problems, not looking to solve a problem. I believe community discussions over difficult issues are good and healthy for everyone. But having trained DEI professionals instilling their beliefs does not make a balanced discussion. The fact is, the DEI industry is making approximately $9 billion a year. One must stir up lots of problems in order to keep this business going. Healthy work environments do not thrive when people are told they have microaggressions or biases against one another. We are all human, and we cannot take emotions and biases from the heart of man. It is a part of who we are, our experiences, our faith beliefs. We cannot expect a homogeneous society where we all think and act alike, for that takes away our unique assets that bring true diversity. This ideology causes people to embrace victimhood and take away personal responsibility. It causes people to dwell on color, ethnicity, sexual orientation, instead of dwelling on the content of one's heart and the ability to do a job. It limits open conversations in fear of offending others. Let us stop dividing and elevating groups. If we are here, if Hendersonville was having such a difficult problem, why is it such a rapidly growing city? It's a beautiful city because of the family values, the historical aspects of it, the gorgeous terrain, and the emphasis on nature, not race or sexual orientation. DEI divides us. It doesn't unite us. Please cut the contract.
Anyone else?
My name is Jennifer Guyotza, and I live in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I moved to Hendersonville from Baltimore, Maryland 13 years ago, and I couldn't be happier. My first thought was that I had actually moved to paradise. If you've lived in a major city, you know what I mean. Sunday, I was visited by a white squirrel and a big old black bear, and it was just the greatest. Much better than listening to rats fighting inside a trash bag out in the alley in the city. I don't even visit Baltimore anymore, and I still have family there. The crime rate, especially violent crime, is obscenely high. The homelessness, the ever-failing educational system, drug addiction, I could go on and on. In September of 2021, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And the generosity, support, and love I have received from this community has been overwhelming. Thank you. I couldn't imagine fighting this anywhere else but here. There is nothing wrong with the people in Hendersonville. We are a wonderful and loving community. We are good and decent people, and we are thriving. I would urge the citizens of Hendersonville to not be fooled by this giant failure wrapped in a pretty package.
If you could wind up, please.
Okay, I'm trying to be as fast as I can. Diversity,
please.
equity, and inclusion is now a billion-dollar industry, estimated $3.4 billion in 2020. It's monetizing the victim mentality. If I believe that these policies would help, I would support them 1,000,000%. I know there are people who are afraid to speak up because if you oppose these types of agendas, you are called terrible names and even ostracized. And that is intentional to silence you. But I will not be silenced. I am a child of God, and I love everyone. Everyone, and I'm annoyed just as equally by everyone, too. But I will not be supporting policies that have proven to fail time and time again, my last statement, that only divide people and do not bring them together or create equality as they claim. May we not wait until our freedom is gone to decide to use it.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay. All right. There is nothing on the agenda where we are discussing the report. This is something internal that we all have to look through ourselves to determine what we will be doing with it. So at this point, thank you all for being here, for being respectful of one another's comments. And we'll take a 5-minute break for those who don't wish to stay for the rest of our meeting. You may leave. tonight's agenda? If not, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda as presented this evening?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. We have our agenda. Consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda so it can be discussed? Or if not, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I move that the City Council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and we have the consent agenda approved. Okay. Get my page turned here. We have a variety of presentations this evening. So, I'm going to come around for these, at least the first couple. Thank you. We have a proclamation for lung cancer awareness. Let me get the right one out here. And is there someone here who is going to receive it? Okay, please come forward. Right here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. This is a proclamation for Lung Cancer Action Week. Whereas about every 2.25 minutes, a person in the U.S. is diagnosed with lung cancer. And whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths. And whereas lung cancer screening saves lives, and advocacy and increased awareness will result in more high-risk individuals getting screened. Whereas public support for research funding will result in new treatments and better methods of early detection. And whereas Lung Force is a national initiative led by the American Lung Association to defeat lung cancer. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Barbara Volk, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, hereby designates the second week in May as Lung Cancer Action Week throughout Hendersonville, North Carolina, and encourages all residents of Hendersonville, North Carolina to learn more about lung cancer, risk factors, and early detection, and take action. So, now, would you like to say something?
I would like to thank you and the council and the city for recognizing this week. The Lung Association does a lot of work in Charlotte and Raleigh, but I don't think we've been able to expand out to Western North Carolina until now. So we're very excited about this, and I'm excited to see what we can do in the future.
Okay.
So thank you.
And what is your name?
My name is Alexis Gigliola.
And you're with?
The American Lung Association.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Got everybody doing it.
Okay.
One by
And next we have Foster Care Awareness Month. And who is, all right. Okay. This is Foster Care Awareness Month. Whereas the month of May is designated as National Foster Care Month, as declared by the U.S. House and Senate in 1988, and serves as an outlet to increase public awareness of an ongoing issue occurring in every city across the United States. And whereas the nation's foster care system is in crisis, with over 391,000 children and youth in the foster care system. And whereas National Foster Care Day remains an important occasion that celebrates caregivers and the system that makes foster care possible. Foster care refers to a system in which children who do not have appropriate guardians are placed in a home or with private caregivers who function as state-appointed guardians, often on a short-term basis. And whereas we recognize in Henderson County that roughly 135 adolescents are in the foster care system in Henderson County. And whereas Henderson County Foster Parent Association is a local nonprofit whose mission is to strengthen foster and kinship families through support, training, public awareness, communication, and advocacy with the aim of nurturing child safety, well-being, and stability. And whereas an effort is being made by the community of Henderson County Foster Parent Association in raising awareness of the need, and by attending a Fostering Together event May 2nd at the historic courthouse on Main Street in downtown Hendersonville, was an effort to draw attention and support for youth in the foster care system. Now therefore, I, Barbara Volk, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Foster Care Awareness Month in the City of Hendersonville, and applaud the efforts of those who serve our youth in the foster care system of Henderson County. So, thank you. If you could give your names and if you'd like to say something, please.
Sure. I'm Hope Kim. I'm the president of Henderson County Foster Parent Association. We couldn't do our work without our wonderful community members, so thank you guys for helping us raise awareness for foster care here in Henderson County.
Okay.
And I'm Amy Shen, the treasurer of the Henderson County Foster Parent Association. We appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. All right, Drinking Water Week, and who is doing this one?
I'll ask Casey Lyons to come up. Do you have?
I don't have it.
Do you have a proclamation?
I'll read it, and then the mayor can, maybe the mayor can stand with Casey and we'll
I didn't
proclaim.
get that one.
You can make it bigger if she can read it.
Where, it's a mayoral proclamation, May 4th, 2023, celebrating Drinking Water Week, which would be May 7th through 13th, 2023. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, serving as an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life our citizens enjoy. And whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, or a member of a pipe crew maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumers' tap. And whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shone a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs. And whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend. And whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now therefore be it resolved that by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of our city, I, Barbara G. Volk, do hereby proclaim May 7th through 13th, 2023 to be Drinking Water Week in the city of Hendersonville.
All right.
I'll drink to that.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to say something?
Sure. I'm Casey Lyons. I'm the environmental compliance tech for Hendersonville, and we are dedicated to providing safe solutions and water treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our quarterly MVP recipients.
Mayor Volk, members of City Council, as is our custom, we recognize employees who go above and beyond, and we do that on a quarterly basis. I do not see Brittany here. I'm not overlooking, okay. But I would like to recognize Brittany Watson from our finance department. As an employee who's a type 1 diabetic, had an appointment with her surgeon regarding having her gallbladder removed. Her sugar dropped suddenly, and she did not feel well to drive and was going to cancel her appointment. Brittany immediately stepped in and offered to drive her to an appointment, and the surgery was successfully scheduled. Brittany also goes above and beyond in assisting her teammates. So we'd like to recognize Brittany, and as we talk about our customers, it's not only external customers as also internal customers. So recognize Brittany for working closely with her teammates and promoting service excellence. So I'd like to recognize Brittany for a job well done. And I don't think Mariana is here either, but I would like to recognize Officer Tinoco. She recognized or witnessed cable lines that were down from a storm. The storm knocked over a power pole the previous Friday. The power pole was replaced the same day, but the lines remained in the roadway and was discovered to have been there for 4 days. Officer Tinoco stayed on scene, cleaned up debris, and contacted AT&T, Duke, and Ottoman. All three came out and had the lines cleared up from the roadway in a very few hours. So I'd like to thank Mariana for her proactive work for our citizens and getting those lines put back up. So. And I do believe some of these gentlemen are here, so I'd like to ask Tom Wooten to come up with Ross, Jody, Terry, and Jerry, who all four of these gentlemen are here. Ross and crew, as the nomination says. Ross and the building maintenance team are constantly taking on extra projects to assist with various city initiatives. This team took responsibility for installing and removing the banners and decals celebrating Hendersonville's 175th anniversary. They also are repairing features from the old mini golf so that they can be included on the new course. These extra projects are beyond their regular jobs, but their skills and expertise help make Hendersonville special and better for the community. So I'd like to congratulate Ross and Jody and Terry and Jerry for going above and beyond and what they do for our community.
Congratulations, Jody. Congratulations, and Terry. That way. And thank you. Appreciate the work that you guys do normally, and then going above and beyond. Thank you.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Congrats.
Okay. Next, Mr. Conant is going to introduce the Arts Council Executive Director.
I'd like to recognize Eric Kirchner to make an introduction.
Great. I just wanted to be able to come and introduce myself and to be able to, I don't know that this is the right forum to answer questions, but if you ever have any questions, please know that I would love to be able to answer them for you. I became the executive director of the Arts Council back in November, so I'm still trying to learn my way around Henderson County and so forth, but we've had some fantastic events and great success here at the beginning of 2023. Some of you all may be aware that we are working with the Tourism Development Authority to be able to put on the Music on Main series for this summer. So the Arts Council is going to be taking on that music series and also moving the traditional street dance nights from Monday nights to Saturday nights. So now on certain weekends here in Hendersonville, we're going to have Rhythm and Brews on Thursday, Music on Main on Friday, and then the Saturday street dance. So it really will be a wonderful set of events on some of those weekends. And I'm very proud to be working with the TDA and thank them for their support. Obviously, the city supports the Arts Council as well and helps us to be able to take our arts programming into the schools here in the county, and we have had a wonderful run of a program called Artists in Schools, which you may be familiar with, where we are able to take requests from teachers to bring in the kinds of artists that they want to have come in and expand their classroom. We've presented multiple dance projects and all kinds of ceramic projects and painting projects by bringing different great artists in, which supports the artists in the area, but also helps to expand that classroom. What we do is we are a designated county partner of the North Carolina Arts Council, and so they give us money from the state legislature every year. It is distributed by population, and we then redistribute it to arts organizations here throughout the county. This past year, we gave over $55,000 to different groups. That was through just the grassroots program, but also because of the American Rescue Program, there is a second stream of funding that we've had for the last year, and we will have for one more year, and we were able to give another $50,000 to arts organizations for all different kinds of purposes, from staffing to marketing to increasing their capacity to be able to reach the public. So I just wanted to be able to come and introduce myself to you all tonight, and to thank you so much for your support, to let you know that I'm here to be able to serve you and answer any questions that you all may have at any time. And I thank John for being able to fit me onto the agenda. I had a great crowd here. I'm really disappointed. But I thank you all for everything that you do to support the Arts Council, and very much looking forward to bringing you great events here in Hendersonville. Thank you all very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Coachman. Those types of events are very important to folks, and so we appreciate your working on those. Thank you. Mr. Smith, new fats, oils, and grease, fog management policy.
Actually, Mayor, I think Mr. Smith is out of town, so I'll ask Gracie Irwin
okay.
to come and present her,
Yeah.
her people.
Ooh.
Got the little monsters, Hendersonville's most wanted. They're here in the flesh tonight, or cardboard, I should say. But now I'm filling in for Lee tonight to talk to you guys about Hendersonville's proposed fog management policy. And I have a clicker. So fats, oils, and grease. Who cares about these little dudes, right? So we're going to talk about that, what it is, why we need to manage it, what FSEs are, what MFUs are, why do we need a policy about it, who does it apply to, and then we'll hit some specific highlights. And of course, my contact information and Casey's contact information will be at the end. So what is fog? Simply put, it's fats, oils, and grease that have the potential to be discharged into the sanitary sewer. Without proper management, fog will negatively interfere with the components of the sewer collection system and impair wastewater treatment and contribute to sanitary sewer overflows. So as you can see up here, oh, whoops. Wrong direction. Is this the button? Yes. Up here in the top right, we've got all these lovely fats, oils, and greases that we all love to eat, right? And they're super yummy, but when they end up in the sewer, they're not so yummy anymore, and they can cause complete blockages, which is just causing a lot of work on not only our collection system, but also a lot of extra work at the wastewater plant. So why do we need this policy? It's become evident that fog management inside of Hendersonville's sewer collection system needs some standardization and well-defined requirements. These greasebergs, as they call them at the wastewater plant, are not uncommon. They're actually very common. And as you can see, they're pretty gross, and aside from them just not being pleasant, they cause just a lot of issues with our ability to actually treat wastewater. If they even get that far, sometimes they just get so built up in the sewer system that we're having issues with our pump houses and issues with just sewer overflows, which nobody wants. So who all is this policy going to apply to? It's going to apply to our food service establishments, our FSEs, and those are clearly defined as any food service facility discharging kitchen or any food preparation wastewater. So this doesn't include residential homes, but it does include anything from restaurants, hotels, schools, grocery stores, nursing homes, etc. Mobile food units are very similar, only they are self-contained mobile kitchens that are equipped to prepare and/or sell consumable food or drink items. A food service establishment, basically, that is ready to be moved
ready-to-move and vend food. So what all does this new policy include? It has very clear, specific definitions. Some of these definitions include FSCs, MFUs, the differences between grease interceptors and grease traps. The policy also includes requirements regarding grease removal devices. So these are things like those grease traps and grease interceptors, and how often they need to be cleaned, and how many records you need to keep for just proving that they have been cleaned and having that documented. And the policy will also include details about city inspections. So this is really for our FSE, so that they have a very clear place that they can know what to expect from city expectations, or from city inspections, and how frequently we're going to come, and any requirements that they can expect that they'll need to meet. Some specific highlights include best management practices. So this is a detailed best management section that's been included to assist our FSEs and MFUs with their fog management. So if they have questions about things that they can do in their kitchens to reduce fog, this will be a great resource for them. We've also included construction and plumbing requirements. This is clear requirements that have been outlined for both new and existing construction, because sometimes that's always been a little bit of a gray area, so now we have clear requirements for both of those. And then there's also a no grandfathering clause. So this means regardless if you've been in business as an FSU for the past 30 years in Hendersonville, or if you're going to be opening up in 2 months, you are subject to this policy. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes.
Is this policy, does it only apply to the FSCs in the city limits, or does this apply to any utilizer of our sewage system?
It's anyone within our sewer use boundary.
Okay.
So that's not defined by city limits. Our sewer use boundary is a little bit different, but basically if you connect to our sewer system, then you are subject.
What kind of teeth does this policy have?
Well, all of the teeth are the next few slides down. If you, I guess, like, what's your biggest concern?
Okay, so I know we're gonna try to help people come into compliance.
Yes.
But if we over and over have people that don't come into compliance, how do we make them comply?
Great question. They are subject to fines. The fines are specifically less than the installation of a grease trap. Generally, the fines will come from failure to install a trap if they need one, or failure to maintain the trap. And so we've made sure that the fines are more expensive than that, so that they're incentivized to put in the traps. I think I misspoke a few sentences ago. The fines are more expensive than the cost of putting in a trap, because we want to encourage them to put in the trap.
And who would be issuing the fines? Oh, I'm sorry. Who would be issuing the fines?
It'll boil down to my name,
Okay.
but Casey Lyons, our environmental technician, she'll be the one who does the initial inspections, and if they continue to not comply, then at that time I'll come in.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I have not either.
Just work in the world.
But there is, we'll of course work with all of our restaurants to give them time in a reasonable time frame. You know, I think we've been doing like 8 to 12 weeks for places. Like we understand that this is all new. And
will the Henderson County Health Inspector be a part of it?
we have had meetings with the health department, mostly regarding our mobile food units or food trucks, because they have a better list and record of those, because they are required to go through the health department in order to vend food in this county. But that gets a little bit of a gray area depending if they're discharging in our sewer use boundary or not.
Who actually does the inspections? Okay. Hi.
Do you have any specific questions about the inspections, or?
What type of notification has gone out to the businesses to let them know that this is happening?
Casey, do you mind to speak on that?
So whenever I go to do an inspection, I usually just call the restaurant and set up a time to come by and inspect or whatever. And then depending, a lot of them haven't had the grease traps. And so, I've told them to put them in, we're requiring this or whatever. It's kind of been a case-by-case basis how I've dealt with that and been in communications and stuff from that point.
So did they know prior to you coming that they were required to have that?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So it's kind of I don't know, kind of a play-by-ear kind of thing.
No, I'm wondering, like, if there's like a law or a policy that me as a medical provider would have to have, somebody would have told me that prior to them showing up to inspect my office.
So it's currently in our ordinance.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking, yeah. So it's already there.
We're just revising it and adding some more
Okay.
guidelines, clear definitions. There's some gray areas in our ordinance currently, and so this policy is basically revising that and revamping it and kind of getting rid of those gray areas.
Okay, thank you.
Is this something that we as a city council need to vote on, or is this kind of an
Not tonight, because
internal-
I think
Okay.
we will want to work with the utility department to make sure that our ordinance and our policy are consistent. This will also give us time to talk about how we do some public notification and public education. So I know we're out with our cardboard people, so, but I think there's some work that we can do with our utility department, and then we can bring the policy back to city council to make sure it's consistent with our ordinance.
Okay. Other questions?
Yes, and that is, will there be some way in a year from, whenever we pick effective date of starting to study this, that we can have some statistics of, okay, we had fewer greasebergs or whatever, to see we have some reflection that this is working?
Yeah, we can definitely start collecting that data. As of right now, we don't have any concrete data on grease that we have been collecting that I'm aware of.
No, they don't do
No,
that.
I just think that.
I just kind of get notifications from the folks at the wastewater plant
Right.
that issues are going on.
And I think a good measurement, a good key indicator would be the number of sanitary sewer overflows that are based on grease blockage. If we could use that, that may be a potential metric that we'd want to look at, because I know that is a significant problem.
I know in the past, before Casey's role was invented, for lack of better terms, basically the only time that I had to dedicate to grease management was when there was an issue. And so Casey's role has really helped us to cut down on just the amount of grease that's in our sanitary sewer collection system. And I know that the guys at the wastewater plant have told me that they've seen a reduction since Casey started. And she's basically gone around to all of our FSCs in the town and inspected all of them, so. And she's done everything according to our current ordinance.
Yeah, and my comment was just that if we had some type of statistics and we would thank all these people for doing this, it would be just nice to share that with them. Hey, you guys are making our system better, and this is how much better you've made it.
Yeah, I agree, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. I do have data on like the compliance, the places when I first started, what percentage of them I went to that were following group fog practices versus the percentage of them that weren't or never heard of it or anything like that. So I do have that data, but that's all we have right now.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Next, we have special appropriations. Jenny Floyd, you didn't bring any cardboard people with you?
No cardboard people, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I'm sure Adam and Brian would be open to creating some. No, okay.
It's not in the budget.
Right. So tonight I'm going to give you a brief overview of the special appropriations request. Tomorrow we do have some dedicated time, if you want a little more, to come up with your recommendations and feedback. To start, there's three main categories: education, arts, culture, and recreation, life quality, and economic services. Those are going to be our two discretionary buckets, and then we have the full funding. So a special appropriations budget is 0.5% of the general fund overall budget. So our city manager's recommendation this year is a total appropriations budget of $130,000, 25% of which will go to education, arts, culture, and recreation for a total of $32,500, 75% for life quality and economic services for a total of $97,500. For arts, education, culture, and recreation, we had a total requested amount of just over $119,000. You should have received some more specific detail at last meeting. This kind of got pushed, but we can always review that again. For life quality and economic services, we had a total requested amount of $266,260. For full funding, total requested amount of just under $295,000. Just as a refresher, a couple of weeks ago, you did vote on ARP funding allocation. The organizations that are up on the screen are organizations that were granted funding. So we have Children and Family Resource Center, Interfaith Assistant Ministry, Pisgah Legal Services, Safe Light, and True Ridge. Just as a general recap, we have a total general request of just under $386,000. As you can see, we are over budget in both discretionary categories, and that's where we turn to you for your recommendations, feedback, and questions.
Any questions?
All of the ones that were on the full funding list, you're recommending that we fully fund. It's just the other ones that are the 130.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I was throwing around the idea of moving education into the other bucket, only because to me, that is part of life quality. I know I sent everyone an email, but I wasn't sure what our thoughts were on that.
Which ones would that be?
Yeah. Can we go back to that slide?
So that would be Henderson County Education Foundation, Education Initiative, medical training from NAACP, Blue Ridge Literacy Council, which is now Literacy Connection.
So that would put more in the other category, which...
It would.
It wouldn't really change the overall funding allocation.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those could technically be considered education, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine if we want to keep it where it's at. It's all the same pot of money.
Yeah.
And like I said, we do have time set aside tomorrow if you guys want to have some more in-depth conversations and provide specific recommendations.
I have a question. This is really to you. And that is, can you go back one slide?
Sure.
So if we were to decide, I know we got the 130,000, but if we did not break it out, 32.5 and 97.5 in those buckets, we can do that, right? I mean, this is not an ordinance. This is just something that we discussed.
It's city policy, city council policy.
Right.
We can change it.
Right, but it's not an ordinance.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the policy that we just changed last year, though, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct, but policy, you can change, no, it's totally at your discretion.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, concludes the presentations. We have one public hearing for this evening, and that is a standard rezoning, 1208 Stanwood. And you're all ready, Mr. Manley.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. As you stated, this is a rezoning request for 1208 Stanwood Lane. This is a 1.8 acre tract. It's currently zoned R15. The petition is requesting to rezone that property to R10. The subject property is located in the ETJ in the southwestern portion of the city of Hendersonville's zoning jurisdiction. The portion of the ETJ in this area has been in place since it was originally established in 1975. The subject property is zoned R15. This is the predominant zoning district found along the entire western side of the city's jurisdiction. It stretches all the way from Canoga Road to the south, up beyond Stony Mountain Road to Asheville Highway to the north. Other zoning districts proximate to the subject property include R40 zoning, just 0.1 miles to the east, and R20, low-density residential zoning, just 0.2 miles further east. It should be noted that there are multiple instances of site-specific uses, non-conforming uses, and exempt uses in the vicinity of the subject property. So to point those out, to the west of the subject property is a mobile home park with a density of 8.7 units per acre. To the north is the Saddlebrook community, which is a planned unit development with a density of 5 units per acre. And there is a paint and body shop on the southeast side of the subject property in the R15 zoning district. There is also some agriculturally oriented commercial activity around the intersection of Canoga Road and State Street on a bona fide farm, which is zoned R40. As a bona fide farm, this parcel is exempt from city zoning since it's located in the ETJ per general statute. Looking at a comparison between the existing zoning and the proposed zoning, you'll find that the permitted uses and special uses are essentially identical, with one exception where cemeteries are a special use in R15 but not in the R10. The major differences, and they are very similar, but the differences are really found in the dimensional requirements. The minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet less for R10. The setbacks are smaller. And another significant difference is if a minor planned residential development were to occur, under R15, it permits 3.75 units per acre. Under R10, that bumps up to 5.5 units per acre. So the subject property at 1.8 acres, currently under R15, would permit 6 units per acre under a minor PRD. If it's rezoned, it would permit up to 9 units per acre. Taking a look at the subject property in the upper left, this is Stanwood Lane from the center of the site, looking towards State Street. On the upper right is kind of the upper center of the site, looking to the east, neighboring property. The bottom left is, again, kind of upper center of the site, looking to the south, southwest, and the bottom right is from the center of the site, looking at the neighboring mobile home park. You also see the mobile home park in the upper left photograph. This is looking southeast. Towards the bottom of the mobile home park, you can see Drake Street, which is a gravel road kind of in the mid-ground. And off in the distance, you see the tree line that runs along Shepherd Creek. On the upper right, you see Drake Street, where it cuts through this subject property and provides access to the mobile home park. Bottom left, you can see Drake Street on the left side. This is the kind of the floodplain portion of the property. And on the bottom right is within that floodplain area, looking out over the agricultural use that is adjacent to the south. And again, you can see the Shepherd Creek tree line off in the distance there. The City of Hendersonville's 2030 Comprehensive Plan future land use map designates the southwestern quadrant of the planning area, including the majority of the subject property, as medium-intensity neighborhood. The 100-year floodplain in the southern portion of the subject property, as well as the other low-lying areas along Shepherd Creek and in the Mud Creek floodplains, are designated as natural resource and agricultural areas. Portions of the land south of Canoga Road are designated as low-intensity neighborhood. So taking a look at the first criteria for considering a rezoning, comprehensive plan consistency. As mentioned, the future land use designation is split between medium-intensity neighborhood and natural resource agricultural area. The medium-intensity neighborhood designation is present north of Drake Street, while the area designated as natural and agricultural resources is located south of Drake. The proposed zoning is consistent with the lower intensity designation of medium-intensity neighborhood. The growth management map designates the site as preservation and enhancement area. These are developed areas in which few significant changes are expected, or undeveloped areas that are not considered a high priority for growth. It goes on from there. There are a couple of goals from the land use and development chapter that are relevant, including encourage infill development that utilizes existing infrastructure, and discourage development in areas needed for protection of natural and agricultural resources, and protection from citizens from natural hazards. The population and housing chapter goes on to provide, to encourage variation in lot sizes and housing types within new developments, and encourage mixed land use patterns that place residents within walking distance of services. The natural and environmental resources has a number of goals and strategies. These are somewhat abbreviated, but preserve environmentally sensitive areas, discourage and reduce development of structures and impervious surfaces within the FEMA floodway and 100-year floodplain, protect land adjacent to streams, encourage restoration of natural habitat and drainage patterns, continuously assess development and preservation efforts within areas planned as natural resource and agricultural. Those are all under goal number 1. Goal number 2, provide a variety of quality open space distributed equitably throughout Hendersonville. The strategies under that goal: encourage clustered development that preserves open space while allowing a return on investment, acquire environmentally sensitive properties, promote preservation of woodlands, promote the location and design of open space, enable and encourage low-impact development practices in stormwater management. The cultural and historic resources chapter and the community facilities chapter did not have any goals and strategies that were relevant to the petition. The water resources chapter echoed similar strategies that were found under natural and environmental resources. The transportation and circulation chapter offers to encourage pedestrian connections between dead-end streets and adjacent neighborhoods, and preserve and expand the public greenway system. The second criteria considered is compatibility. In this case, the subject property and all abutting properties are zoned R15. As mentioned previously, there are multiple instances of site-specific land uses, non-conforming uses, and exempt uses in the vicinity of the subject property. And just to quickly recap, to the west is the mobile home park with a density of 8.7 units. To the north, Saddlebrook community with a density of 5 units per acre, and the paint and body shop, as well as the agricultural commercial activity at Canoga and State Street. The third criteria is changed conditions. In this case, those conditions relate to the commercial activity at Canoga and State, as well as the development of the Saddlebrook neighborhood, which was established in 1990. Also of note is the reduction in allowable density within the R15 zoning district per a zoning text amendment which occurred in September of 1996. So the density allowed within R15 was reduced at that time. The fourth criteria considered is public interest. The rezoning could allow for a slight increase in residential development on this currently vacant land. The fifth criteria is public facilities. Both Drake Street and Stanwood Lane are NCDOT streets. Water and sewer are available to the site. Sanitation, police, and fire service would be available upon annexation. And the sixth criteria, the effect on natural environment. And in this case, there has been some clearing on the subject property on the northern portion of the site. The USGS map shows a blue line stream on the parcel. However, this stream has been field verified by staff as having been rerouted through the neighboring mobile home park at some point in the past. Our stormwater division folks went out and confirmed that. And I'll note that should a development request come for this property, compliance with the city's standards for floodplain protection would be required for the portion of the subject property located in the 100-year floodplain. The Planning Board recommended to approve this proposed rezoning. The motion carried 5-1. I will note that there was a mistake in the Planning Board summary that you all received that said that they recommended denial. They recommended approval, but there was one vote in opposition to that. They made that motion with the recommendation that's shown on the screen in terms of the comprehensive plan consistency statement that they offered up. And they offered these 4 points of rationale for the approval, as shown on the screen. We've also drafted a denial statement, should you need it. And then one last topic I want to cover is kind of unique to this particular request. We're considering the fact that the petition proposes to rezone a small portion of land that's completely surrounded by a similar but different zoning district. It raised questions related to spot zoning. And so planning staff performed an analysis of the spot zoning issue in conjunction with legal staff, and we determined that the rezoning would technically be considered spot zoning. However, spot zoning alone is not illegal in North Carolina. And with some further analysis based on case law and things of that nature, we reviewed whether this petition would be considered valid or invalid spot zoning by the courts. And based on the specific circumstances of this rezoning, we determined that it's not likely to be invalidated should it be approved by City Council. And with that, I will open it up for any questions. Yes, sir.
This rezoning would not change the limitations that the floodplain presents, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so regardless of what we're doing, the limitation on building floodplain still in place, doesn't change.
That's correct.
Okay.
Other questions?
Did the planning board have the information regarding this, the spot zoning and the valid zoning? Was that stuff they analyzed before their vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That was the
That
reason
all
the one
the
got voted
questions
against.
for now? Okay, thank you. Madam Attorney, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
All right, we'll open this public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this? Yes, sir. If you'll come forward and give your name and address for the clerk's record, please.
My name is Michael Redden. I reside at 409 Drake Street. There's no need to be spot zoning. I mean, I live on like not even a half an acre lot, and if you're going to put that many houses on 1.3 acres that's not in the floodplain, you're not going to be able to expel gas without your neighbors knowing it. I mean, the floodplain needs to stay. I mean, there is no reason for that many houses to be put on that lot. They need to focus on doing something with the vagrants in the town. I have a mother at home that's terminally ill, and vagrants are always right in that area. I mean, something needs to be fixed at before you even really decide to do any kind of construction. I mean, to put more people in there. There's really no R10 anywhere in the area. Like I said, my family's resided there since 1986. My family settled here in the late 1700s. And I'm sure my ancestors is rolling over in the grave with how this town is really turning out. But like I said, there's no need to spot zone. I mean, R15 is perfectly fine for that area. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this topic? Is there anyone online who would like to speak?
Yes, Mayor, we've got 2 hands raised.
Okay, if you would call on those, please.
Lynn, you've been unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Lynn Williams, Chadwick Avenue. My concerns with this rezoning include inconsistent zoning requirements and restrictions. Plus, I'm more concerned with the loss of valuable, massive, gorgeous, mature trees and the canopy, as well as animal habitat and the wildlife corridor through this lot. When comparing the zoning designations to other R10 designations nearby, please note that Saddlebrook has requirements that go with a planned community like traffic studies, grading, and stormwater plans, plus the essential buffer requirements with an extensive natural buffer of healthy trees, as well as the landscaping plan that now would be reviewed by the tree board. How will you protect the floodplain area when when the sponge-like quality of the trees and impervious surfaces may be completely diminished with not coherent oversight, especially if built out site by site through phased expansion. The agricultural use across the street requires buffer considerations to protect residents from carcinogenic chemical sprays like Monsanto, as well as the obvious drift that will happen from those sprays. Denying the rezone and encouraging a CZD to negotiate site plan, externalize impacts, and a canopy habitat conservation would be the best option, potentially. The second example provided by the planning department is the adjacent trailer park density. Clearly, a single wide mobile home is much less dense than the traditional house and lawn with driveway, cars, etc., accessory dwellings. Note the mobile homes are scattered among a healthy, mature canopy of trees, and the site is just not clear-cut and massively graded for installation of the homes. Otherwise, adjacent zoning is actually less dense. R20 and R40, less dense is the compatible zoning trend in this area, and less specialized review and approval given for higher density or a grandfathered density clause for the pre-existing mobile home park that already has a balance of healthy canopy trees with greater pervious surface area than traditional housing with the roads and driveway plans. Compared to the satellite images, as mentioned, it appears some of the mature trees and canopy has already been destroyed. Waving a hand of approval sets an unnerving precedent about leaving potential development sites undisturbed. Also, the site images provided do not clearly reflect the content of the site. Presenting images of trees with no leaves causes the evidence of site to appear skewed, not reflecting the full vitality and value of this habitat. The goals stated by Mr. Manley not being met are: the natural resources will not be ensured protection. This does not promote the preservation of woodlands. Stormwater management would not happen because only half the site is floodplain, not the entire site with its recent impacts and loss of stormwater mitigation through tree and canopy loss. We are in opposition to spot zoning based on this skewed justification. Having the council's oversight on the development next door to our residents here on Chadwick was essential for protecting our way of life and negotiating and prioritizing the public interest over private interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Ken Fitch, you've been unmuted.
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. One hesitates to speak for or against the proposed action, but there is a problem, an awkward problem. The site in question has already been altered and cleared, perhaps in preparation for a specific project. But we do not know what the project might become. It might be a few single-family homes, or we might see an innovative multifamily complex, lovingly landscaped and providing much-needed housing for the city to which it will be annexed. But there may be questions about potential incompatibility or proximity to a 100-year floodplain, and what happens with a 500-year flood. And what about construction and site activity impacts on Drake Street? All of which might be resolved, of course, with the diligent work of staff. But the location is still familiar to many of us for the accidents and that occur on nearby roads and intersections. One remembers riding in a vehicle on State Street and being forced off the road by a speeding vehicle onto the unstable shoulder and then causing a flat tire and other damage and a forever bad memory. There are many other accounts, as I think you probably remember from previous hearings. It has been stated that the change in zoning would constitute a modest increase in density to allow 3 more units, which is an increase from 6 to 9. Now, 3 units might seem a slight increase, but with 9 units, the cumulative impact of the potential presence of up to 18 more vehicles, plus visitors and deliveries at this site, would increase the potential for hazardous interactions on nearby roads and intersections. And then we are left with the existential question. At what point does the increase of hazards, albeit in small increments, to an already existing hazardous situation, at what point does the increase become unacceptable? Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else seeking recognition?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We had one digital comment submitted from Diana Justice, 1050 Saddlebrook Drive, Hendersonville. She said, "I'm sorry not to be able to attend this meeting, but I am totally against the land involved being rezoned from R15, which everything around it is, to R10. Why change and open such a can of worms in an overpopulated area? The street certainly needs improving, and so many things on Stanwood have improved, but I question Mr. Murphy's intent other than to make money. The extra traffic and noise pollution concern me, as State Street is already busy. The canopy of trees is gone, and I can only expect more of the same. He has his approval for 6 units. Please leave it at that." So that was the comment there. Is there anyone else here who wishes to comment, one way or the other? Yes, sir.
I'm the petitioner, or
Okay.
owner of the property, and I just want to throw out there the main benefit to changing the zoning, or the zoning, is the setbacks, and for narrow lots like that, it allows more house options if that's the route we go. But the size requirements for R10 and R15 are the main benefit of this. I can read through those, but they were on the screen and you've seen them all. But that's all I want to say, is just the size. It allows more different house options, different setbacks, all that stuff. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Now we'll close that public hearing. Okay.
Can I ask Mr. Manley to come back up?
Yeah.
Some comments led to some questions I'd like to ask.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just to make sure, there is no petition for annexation involved in this.
Not at this time, no.
Okay, and then the second one is, as you mentioned before, any development that takes place is going to come back through our planning department to be approved.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Anything else? No? All right. Discussion or a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the City of Hendersonville, changing the zoning designation of the subject property, PIN 95685185549, from R15 medium density residential to R10 medium density residential zoning district based on the following. Number one, the petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville's 2030 comprehensive plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the medium-intensity neighborhood designation calls for attached and detached single-family residential uses as primary land uses, and development guidelines recommend densities at a rate of 2 to 8 units per acre. The R10 medium-density residential zoning district permits single-family and two-family uses at a maximum of 5.5 units per acre. Number two, we find this petition to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because, one, the proposed residential zoning district is compatible with the character of the surrounding neighborhood and the adjacent land uses. Two, the petition provides for a modest increase in density without introducing new uses that would be detrimental to or out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. Three, the proposed increase in density would provide a public benefit by allowing for additional housing stock. And four, the proposed increase in density helps to offset limitations to development which are constrained by the presence of a 100-year floodplain on the subject parcel.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the rezoning, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and that rezoning will take place. Thank you. All right. New business, Pollinator Bed Partnership.
Okay, this is very exciting. Before we talk about this, though, I do want to say a huge congratulations to the Environmental Sustainability Board and everyone that helped with the Hendo Earth Fest that was on April 22nd on Earth Day. It turned out really well, and thank you to everybody who assisted and who came out. So, in addition to working hard on that the last couple of months, they have put together this proposal for pollinator plants. So it was in the packet, more of the details, but the gist of it is we would enter into a contract with the horticultural department at Blue Ridge Community College. We would give them the seeds for them to grow, and then we would in turn get half of the plants back to use in whatever landscaping we wanted to use them in, and then they would keep the other half of the plants to help support the program. So ESB has recommended that we adopt this, but before we went any further, I told them that I needed to bring it to you all to see what your thoughts were on it. Yes.
I think it's a good idea. Do we already have places in mind of where we're going to put these plants once they've mature enough to be moved?
I'm gonna say yes, because Public Works is already working on a couple of pollinator gardens, and ESB has a couple other locations already. Their eyes are on them. Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna put them everywhere.
Yeah.
But it seemed like a real win-win to me, because it helps the students at the school and it helps us, spend a little bit less on seeds as opposed to full plants.
Any other questions, comments? Do we need a motion, or can we just, in general, agree?
Just in general.
Sounds good.
It's within the authority of the city manager to do this.
We'll work out the details and.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anyone have any objection? No?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Council comments? Anything anyone has?
I just have a comment on the morning of Hendo Earth Fest. We had a joint kind of cleanup, litter cleanup with Commissioner McCall and County Manager John Mitchell. Councilman Smith was there. The grand tally was 290 pounds of trash that we picked up, and this was a very small area, I felt like. I know my daughter and her friends spent 2 hours in one ditch off the Bilo shopping plaza, and there was still stuff deep in there that they couldn't really safely get to. So just, when we do these, it's awesome to see the participation, and it does help to clean up our roadways, and just thanks for the participation.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Helped clean up at least one little area in the city. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, city manager report.
Just want to say, look forward to seeing everybody in the morning, 8:30 for our budget workshop. And so we'll have breakfast here, and it'll be the budget department show. And so I know they've been working hard to do that. So look forward to seeing everybody in the morning.
Looking forward to the
Fun.
charts.
All those people are going to come back.
All right. And closed session.
Madam Mayor, move that City Council enter closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A 1, 5, and 6 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of the state or of the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, and to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating, 1, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness of an individual public officer or employee.
Okay, any discussion? No? Those in favor of entering closed sessions for the reasons mentioned, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Ayes